Thank you for tuning in and welcome back, team. In today's episode of Real Estate Facts, you'll learn how the closing process works when buying a house. My name is Andrew Finney, your real estate geek. If you need help finding a top agent where you live, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. Okay, team, so let's talk about this. The closing process is really exciting. What it means in its easiest definition is that the seller just accepted the offer that you made on their home, and now you guys have agreed to work together. The next phase is your escrow or closing process, if you will. So now let's get started with what you can expect and some things that you should know as you move forward on closing on your new home. The first thing is to actually stay organized. By staying organized, you're going to know what the steps are, when they're occurring, and what's involved with those steps, from your buyer due diligence phase to understanding contingencies, to where does your earnest money go, how does it work, to your home inspection, to your home appraisal, title and financing, understanding what title insurance is, ordering your homeowners insurance, final walkthrough, and finally paying your last closing cost and actually getting the keys on your new home. That was like a really quick summary of what we're going to go into. So staying organized. It's actually a real estate agent's job to help stay organized for you. Now, what you can do to help your real estate agent out is actually keep track of all the information they're giving to you. They're going to constantly remind you where we are in the process throughout the closing process and what your steps are. Make it easy by being easy to communicate with, either text, email, phone call, what have you, FaceTime, whatever is easiest for you. Make sure your agent knows how to get that done. A closing process on a national average takes between 40 and 50 days to close on a home. Now, if you're on the West Coast, it could happen a lot quicker, like 30 to 40 days. Non-attorney states where real estate attorneys aren't required can take 30 to 40 days. And in those states that do have real estate attorneys, they can take 40 to 50 days to close. So it's important to keep your emotions in check, because it's a little bit of a roller coaster as you go forward here. But it's at the end of that closing process is your brand new home. So first thing is stay organized. The second thing is to understand your contingencies. Contingencies are simply conditions that are included with an offer that must be fulfilled before the deal is closed. For example, a buyer could submit an offer with a home inspection contingency that would allow the buyer to back out if the home inspection wasn't satisfactory. Now, we're not talking about cosmetic defects in home inspections. What we are talking about are like major structural issues. Maybe the roof needs to be replaced. There's a hole in it or something, and a repair is just not going to do. It needs to be replaced. And maybe the seller isn't willing to do that. Well, home inspection contingency would allow you to back out of the contract and not lose your earnest money deposit in that process. Some other common contingencies also include obviously the home inspection, the home appraisal, the title contingencies, and financing contingencies. Okay, so the next thing that you need to know is what happens with your earnest money deposit. Generally, between the first day and the second business day after the seller accepts your offer and you open up the escrow, what's going to happen is that you're going to need to deliver the earnest money check directly to the escrow officer or the title company, or you can actually do a wire. If you choose to do a wire, please make sure that you verify the wiring instructions, specifically the account information and the routing information, directly with the escrow or title officer to make sure everything's on the up and up there. Now, typically what you could expect from the earnest money deposit is paying between 1% and 3% of the sales price of the home into the earnest money deposit account. So if you're wondering how does that break down, let's say that you're buying a $300,000 house. If it's 1%, you'd be looking at putting up $3,000 for your earnest money deposit. If it's 3%, then you'd be looking at putting up $9,000 of earnest money deposit. Right now, you might be like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money, Andrew. Where does that go? And do I ever get to see it again? Yes, when you get ready to close on your home, it's buyer closing costs, your earnest money deposit will be applied towards either your down payment or your buyer closing costs. So it's going to go back to you, and it's going to be like a credit that you're paying for up front, but on the back side, come 30 to 40 days down the road, when you close, it's going to be there to assist you with the cash that you need to close on your home. Now, the next step is going to be getting a home inspection. You want to make sure that you're hiring a licensed and certified home inspector to inspect your new home. Please don't ever waive this home inspection contingency. If you do so and there's something really wrong with that property, like the earlier example, let's say there's a hole in the roof and the roof needs to be replaced, then you might not have, you won't have a leg to stand on to back out, and you could lose your earnest money deposit if you're backing out of a contract for a reason other than a contingency. So be careful whenever you choose to waive contingencies. Make sure you're working with your trusted real estate advisor, get their insight on that, and make sure everything's good to go. Now, your home inspection inspector is going to go check out your house. When they check out your new home, they're going to provide you with a summary report with pictures of their findings of the home. It's simply going to give you an idea of the home's condition at the time of the home inspection from that professional's perspective and point of view. So they're going to share that with you. Whenever they share that with you, then you're going to get with your trusted real estate advisor and prepare what's called a repair request, so you can negotiate any requested repairs of the seller and see what's going to happen going forward there. Now, please keep in mind that when we're talking about negotiating repair request, the term there is repair request. It's simply a request of the seller to make repairs. They're normally not going to be all that amenable to cosmetics. Anything like a hole in stucco or something, not a hole in stucco, but something that needs a little bit of stucco patch or something like that. They may not be so keen on doing that, but bigger ticket items like maybe making sure the HVAC is serviced or working correctly, or getting a roof repair done if that's needed, those would definitely be things you'd want to ask for. So have that conversation with your trusted real estate advisor so that you know how to put that together, and ask the seller for it. They're going to come back to you and let you know what they're willing to do. At that time, you might need to do a renegotiation or simply say, okay, that's fine, and move forward. Now, the next step after that's done is the home appraisal. So unless you're buying a home all cash, an appraisal will need to occur. When the home appraiser goes out to the home, they're going to actually survey the home's condition, and they're going to survey the value of that home. The value that they assign to that home becomes known as the appraisal, and the appraised value. You will not be able to get more home loan than that appraised value. So it's extremely, extremely important when working with your trusted real estate advisor to first perform a comparative market analysis on the home prior to making an offer on that home, just to double check the valuation before an appraiser goes out there. Okay, so if the home appraisal contingency if you waive the home appraisal contingency and the appraisal comes in less, then the seller is going to expect you to come up the difference out of pocket. So please, that again, a home appraisal contingency is not something you want to play around with, and it's not something that you want to waive, okay? So if it does come in less, there's generally three options. One, the seller can reduce the price to the appraised value. The buyer can come up and pay out of pocket the difference of the appraised value. Or more commonly, what I see is a seller taking a little bit less, or like cutting everything in half. So if it's like a $10,000 difference of appraised value and the sales price of the home, then they'll say, okay, I'll go down $5,000, you come up $5,000 out of pocket, okay? So that's something, but talk to your trusted real estate advisor with that. Then the next step is actually looking at title and financing. So with the financing side, now it's time for your loan officer to put everything to the final underwriting and actually get the final underwritten approval prior to them being able to fund on your loan. The title company also wants to ensure that the title that you're receiving on your home is free and clear of any defects of the title. So what happens with that is now that the title officer is looking into title insurance. Title insurance simply protects against losses in the event that a problem after the title is issued on the purchase of the property. It protects you in the event that there was a problem or mistake made in the issuance of said title. So for most parties, both people are going to have title insurance. The seller's going to have a title insurance fee. You, the buyer, are going to have a title insurance fee to make sure everything checks out. Once that step is accomplished, the next thing that we're going to look at is actually ordering your homeowner's insurance. You'll need homeowner's insurance before you're able to close on your new home, especially if you're getting your home financed. You want to start looking at that about 2 weeks to 3 weeks before you're closing, after you've already passed your home inspection process and your home appraisal has come back in good. That's the time frame that you want to start getting your homeowner's insurance taken care of, okay? So that you can go ahead and have it ready to go for the date of your closing, and you can give the documentation to your loan officer and they can go ahead and fund on that loan. Now, after you've taken that, you're going to go into what's called a final walkthrough. Now, that's one of the very last steps that generally take place anywhere from 1 day to 5 days before closing. I generally advise doing that a minimum of 3 days in advance. And the purpose of the final walkthrough is that there's 3 reasons that you do a final walkthrough. The first one is that to make sure the home is in the same condition as it was when you made your offer. The second one is to make sure that all the necessary repairs were completed as requested of the seller in the repair request and agreed to by them. The next is to make sure that everything that was included as part of the sale of the home is still in the home. Let's say that the seller, you'd negotiated the washer and dryer into the home. You'd want to make sure that washer and dryer was still in the home at the final walkthrough. Then the ninth thing is preparing for your closing costs to close on your new home. As you're preparing for your closing cost, if you have different banks and different organizations and you're going to be wiring that money into the escrow account, get with them and make sure that they're able to wire the money into that account up front before it's needed. Because what can happen is if you have some banks might not be able to initiate a wire for a period of time. It could be like 1, 3, 4, 5 days, depending on the financial institution. Some can do it immediately. It's best to know what your financial institution can and can't do as far as wires are concerned, so that when you get ready to go into closing on your new home, you won't have any stalling right there or any issues getting ready to close. It is important to note that buyer closing costs generally account for 2% to 4% of the sales price of a home. So let's say, going back to our $300,000 home example earlier, let's say that you had a 3% down payment. So that would mean that you owe $9,000 in your down payment. Let's say that you have 3% of buyer closing costs. That means you have an additional $9,000 that is going to cost you to buy your new home, for a total sum of $18,000. Now, going back to the third point of this video, when we're talking about your earnest money deposit, let's say that you put up a 1% earnest money deposit on this $300,000 home. That means that $3,000 is already in that account. So then the total money that you would need to close on your home in this example is $18,000 subtracted from your earnest money deposit of $3,000 is $15,000 that you'll be needed prepared for the wire into the escrow account so that you can close on your new home. Now, once that's done, it's time to celebrate, because now you've just closed on your new home, and it's time to set a time to go get those keys with your trusted real estate advisor so that they can hand you the keys to your brand new home. Thank you for watching this video today. Now, tell me what you took away from this video. What about the closing process stuck out to you the most in this video? Was it the fact that you should always stay organized? Or was it the second one, understanding what contingencies are and how they work? Or was it maybe the seventh point that we were making about the importance of making sure you have your homeowner's insurance ready to go before you close? Tell us what you're thinking in the comment section below. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pop up my contact information. If you need help finding a top agent where you live, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. Now, if you haven't already done so, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. Number 1, please subscribe to this channel. Number 2, please like this video. Number 3, please share this video around with someone you know is going to be able to help. In between now and next time, I'm wishing you and yours a lifetime full of love, wealth, abundance, and happiness. See you soon, team, and enjoy a wonderful day.